Bridging the achievement gap. The achievement gap in education is the disparity or imbalance in academic performance between groups of students. The achievement gap shows up in grades, course selection, standardized test scores, and dropout rates. As a future educator, there are a few steps I plan on taking to close this achievement gap among my students. According to Carol Corbett-Burris, the executive director of the Network for Public Education Foundation, one step to closing the achievement gap is to provide the same rigorous and appropriately challenging curriculum to all students. No student should get a watered-down or remedial education. To implement this, in my classroom, there will be no honors or essential courses, and instead, all of my students will receive an honors or challenging curriculum. I will provide after-school help for struggling learners. This leads to the second step in closing the achievement gap, also influenced by Burris, which is detracking, or simply no longer placing students in classes based on academic performance. So what will detracking look like in my classroom? As mentioned before, I will remove the labels of honors, AP, IB, essentials, and remedial courses. Instead, I will have a heterogeneous class where students of various academic levels work together. Step number 3 in closing the achievement gap is to not only be inclusive in regards to academic performance, but to also take students' diverse cultural backgrounds into consideration. As educational anthropologist Kathy Jordan explains in her article, The Role of Culture in Minority School Achievement, one way for teachers to avoid misunderstandings in student behaviors, interactions, and approaches to assignments is to learn about a student's cultural background. Consider cultural diversity to be an asset. In my classroom, I will take the time to learn about a student's cultural background. If an assignment mentions something about a casserole, some students may be confused because a casserole is something not all households make. So I will identify specific terms, even though it may be easy to make the false assumption that everyone knows what it means. There are only a few steps that educators can work on bridging the achievement gap.
Created using Powtoon.